Yes, it just say it is very personal. We're all going to experience these things differently, and this is don't do what I do. Probably don't even do what I say would be my message here. So first of all, I was going to issue an apology really. If this stuff, if you couldn't find all the hand wash and sanitizer when all this thing started, it's probably my fault. I had more of this stuff than I could swim in, to be honest. The thing is, I've been waiting for events since the beginning of January because I was actually due to fly out on a holiday to North America at the end of March. So I had a vested interest in getting into this area. And I didn't honestly fancy the idea of getting on a very large aeroplane full of other people coughing, sneezing, whatever. So I was arming myself to the teeth with hand sanitizer and face masks and all the rest of it. As it happens, and rather luckily, the FCO got there first with a warning to say don't travel, and then followed by Air New Zealand and said, even if you want to travel, you're not going to because we're not going to fly you. So it saved us having to make a decision as to whether we were flying a lot. But having done so, I sort of fell into lockdown before everybody else because I was already sort of prepared for it. So I fell into lockdown probably about the second week of March, and the last shop I did was probably the first week of March, and I was already in there. So I got my hand sanitizer and I closed the door and locked it carefully behind me. Luckily, I retired. I didn't have to think about work. But to be honest, it was very weird because I felt safe for the first time. I closed the door. I felt totally safe. I was in control of me. I know I wasn't going to get an infection because I was going to be not going to be meeting anybody, and that seemed right. It seemed the right thing to do, and I couldn't figure out why it was taking other people quite so long to catch on to all this. Having done that, though, I realised very quickly that I had to do something else because I was going to go drive myself mad. So um, I did my own risk assessment, and this is the bit I should be wary of and say this is just what I did. I live in open country. I live very near a large forest. It's safe for me to walk. So I did my own risk assessment, and to stop myself going completely nuts, I decided to take daily exercise. So I took myself out every day and I started walking. And I carried on walking, and I'm still walking. And any day now, I'm expecting the proclaimers to make me an offer because I'm just coming up to about 500 miles. So hopefully, we'll get an offer from Glasgow. The problem with that, though, is although you can do that, the head's not so good. I very, very soon dropped into a sort of morose state of mind. I couldn't read. I can't really listen to music. All the pleasure's gone from it. And the one thing that really wound me up was the pressure to perform. There was all this social pressure on social media. There seemed to be people out there building sheds, gardening, doing the decorating, knitting vegan swimsuits for penguins, whatever it was. They're all very worthy. And I just wasn't interested. My brain was going, no, this enforced jollity is not for me. I'm quite aware of the difficulties here, but I can't be doing all that. So I just kept myself locked in, which is, I got into the routine already, is that sort of, is it lunchtime yet? If it's lunchtime and I've had lunch, then it must be time to go for a walk. And then that's another day gone, and you just keep crossing them off as you go. It was all going very well, really. And then it became apparent by about VE Day celebrations, really, that the whole thing was beginning to break down. People I could see were getting careless. They were getting almost blasé. We were getting very strange and mixed messages from the government. I started to feel less and less safe. Ironically, as everybody else started to feel more safe, I was going the other way. I was feeling less and less safe. And I looked in horror at the scenes of people queuing up outside B&Q and IKEA and all these things and thinking, what is it these people don't seem to get that I do? Why do they feel the need to go out and do that where I feel the need to keep the door even more firmly locked than I did before? And I gradually sort of got into my head that there were sort of three groups of people that I was coming across. There's us, if you like, the people that are probably watching now, who are the savvy ones, the prudent ones. We're relatively well informed because we have to be. And I don't fear them at all. If I went near one in the street, they'd walk straight past me 5 meters away like I would those. There's a large bulk of people in the middle who seem to be rather naive, somewhat careless, if you like, probably ill-informed, but they don't seem to understand it. They don't really seem to, they're either confused by what they're hearing or they don't get it. And then the third group, well, I'm sorry to say, the most scary group, there seem to be some willfully reckless people, quite a lot of them youngsters. I think the message sent out to youngsters early on, which was you're probably not going to get it. If you do, it's not going to hurt, was probably the wrong one, because I was seeing groups of youngsters, obviously not from the same family, who were having parties and so on and so forth. So there were these three groups of people, which brought me around to think, how do you get out of this? And I think I'm probably going to get out of it the same way I got into it, which is I'm going to do my own risk assessment, because I really don't trust anybody else to do it for me. I certainly don't trust what I'm hearing on the media. I don't think the government are giving any clearer messages than anything. I'm hoping Peter's going to tell us something positive this afternoon. If I'm working, I go into London. If I go into London to do things, I live within the N25. And I'm only as safe as the most reckless person I bump into. And that scares me. So for the time being, I'm going to stay in here and I'm going to stay away from it until somebody I trust, like my own consultant or Peter, says, do you know what, it's probably okay now, you can go and do this. But until then, I think I'm going to be sitting here doing the routine, asking, is it time for lunch, and going for my walk.